Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Look who we have. Kevin from Hakuna La Planta is here with us today. I am so very excited. I know a lot of you have been asking to see him. He has finally agreed to be here with us today. So, virtual claps for Kevin. Now, Kevin. Introduce yourself, please, Kevin.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Kevin. My YouTube channel and on Instagram, my name is Hakuna La Planta. And I love plants. I love growing plants and just, I don't know, they just consume my life.
Yeah. Tell me about Hakuna La Planta. What's the story behind that?
So, okay, let's bring it back 4 years. I was never good growing plants. But there was a time where I was watching, I don't know how it came up, but I would watch like Kaylee Ellen, Plant Arena, and I don't know, plants, they were beautiful, and I was like, let's do this. Let's grow plants and see if you could do it again. Let's give it another go. And had a lot of failures in the beginning, which is normal. But you know what? Like, I think the thing I love the most about growing plants is the challenge, and kind of seeing what's happening, seeing what's working, seeing what isn't working, and just changing what you do to make your plant happy. And I think that's the part that really enticed me into this plant obsession. I'm a very tenacious person just in life. And so if I fail doing something, not even only plant related, but I guess specifically here plant related, like I need to try it again. I need to like make sure that I'm, factoring all the things that I need to factor in for the success of the plant. So I'm a nurse, and on our breaks, me and my friend would go to this plant store 4 years ago, and we kind of just went off. We just bought a lot of plants. Like I remember buying a fiddle leaf fig.
Oh no!
Obviously, she's not with me anymore. Yeah,
we've all been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Calatheas, and I do want to try them again, though. I do want to try them again.
Do you not have the Calathea in your?
Oh, yeah. Like I think I stopped growing them 3 years ago because I don't know, the brown frustrated of the leaf. Yeah, very, very. So yeah. I mean, I just kind of got really into plants then, and one of my best friends, if you're wondering where the name came from, Hakuna La Planta, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Lion King. So and it wasn't even me that came up with the name, it was my best friend. And she just was like, because I was trying, like, I needed like a clever name, I needed like a name on social media and stuff, and then she just like said it randomly.
Wow.
I remember this so it's like I'm replaying it in my mind, and I'm like there. Like I grabbed her. I was like, that's it. That's the name.
That's it. That's me. That's me.
And yeah, so I mean that's how I got into plants, and that's how Hakuna La Planta kind of started. And it's funny because I want to start a YouTube channel like a year before I actually like posted my first video. And I bought all the equipment, I bought the mic, I bought the camera, I had all the stuff.
You were very eager.
I was so eager. And then I recorded my first video, and I was like not happy with it. Not only because I wasn't comfortable in front of the camera, but it was because I thought to myself, I was like, okay, Kevin, I think, you just got into this obsession like 6 months ago. I think you should like see how plants grow, see what works for you, and maybe you'll have better insight. And so I learned what I could in a year. And then the year after, that's when I started.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, Kevin, I think you need to like experience it first,
Yeah.
see how things grow. And then I'm glad I did, because that's when the whole, Leca, semi-hydroponics obsession started. And ultimately, it's what I prefer my plant these days. And so I'm very thankful. And everything happens for a reason. So
Of course. I mean, you do have to take the time, step back and learn your craft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was just so excited.
Well, you're an exciting kind of guy. So, you needed to get going, which I didn't get a mic until someone said to me, your sound is crap. You need to get a mic. It's like, oh, okay.
Thank you. No one asked.
Okay. Constructive feedback. I'll take it. Yeah, I do need a mic, obviously. So I did it very, very slowly, unlike you, which I'm still doing. My equipment is still very sus, but here we are. Now,
I watch your videos. They're good.
I've learned a lot. I mean, you would know as a YouTuber. How do you feel when you watch your first video? Can you watch your first video even?
Okay, do you know what's funny? For the longest time, so remember when a year ago I said I bought all the equipment and I like filmed and whatever? For the longest time I had the footage, and it was actually the unboxing of my Monstera Constellation, the one that I have now. And it was so cringy. It was very cool. I'm sad I deleted it, because obviously I still have that plant and a lot of them, and that it's my oldest plant. And so I'm sad that I don't have the footage anymore, but it was just so cringy when I had to delete it. I was like, nope, no one's finding it.
You should have kept it. That was your diary. That's, you can watch yourself evolve and you're like, oh my God, I was so bad. I'm so good now. I'm so much better now.
Yeah. Can you watch your video?
That's so painful. It is so painful to watch this. So I'm like, girl, bring some life into
it. You're just like, so where you're like, hi, I am going to show you this. And you're just like, like no one wants to watch that.
I know. But look, we all start from somewhere, and that's the really important thing. I mean, with anything in life, we all start from somewhere, and we were brave enough to put ourselves out there, to have someone say to you, no, don't look at the viewing screen, look at the lens. Like, oh yeah, that's true. I have been looking at the little... Well, I don't know anything. But here we are. Tell me, one of the things I love about your channel, Kevin, about everything that you do is you have such variety. A lot of people tend to stick to, they like aeroids, they like anthuriums, they like whatever. But you seem to just span across all sorts. I love that, because I'm the same. I do have like some plants that I like, but I'm just like, I don't care what it is. If I like it, I'll grab it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Having said that, what is your favorite plant?
I'm always going to have to go to the Monstera Constellation, just because, again, she started at the very beginning. I've grown, my mother to just this gigantic size. Like currently, I think she has 12 leaves.
Wow.
Yeah. And before that, like I propagated the plant before, I kind of stuck with this mother plant. I didn't touch her. But now I have like 12 baby propagations in different mediums. And it just kind of like encompasses, like that plant really just, it represents me as a plant person because I like trying new things, even though I do prefer Leca. With some plants, I do prefer Lishus upon. I just like trying different things. Like I have so many Thai constellations that are in moss right now. They're in pond. They're in arid mixes.
Yeah.
Leca, like it just really encompasses like what this plant interests. I don't know what I'm saying, but like, do you know what I mean? Like
you're all about trying new things. You're all about variety.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would
maybe another way to look at that is you get easily bored.
That happens too, but it's do you know what? I think it's a mix of both because there are so many things. I don't want to call all these plants out, but there are some plants that like you kind of lose interest. And what I usually do first is ask myself, what do I want to do with this plant to kind of spark the interest again, spark the joy with this plant? I know that sounds a little harsh, but a lot of the times, like I either change the substrate, I propagate the plant, I see how it grows, and so I do think it's a mix of both. Like definitely, like bored out.
Yeah. I mean, because once you've got the plant to a state where it's growing, everything's fine. Now what?
Yeah. No, it's true. Like you have to. It's endless what you could do with plants. Like, and that's another thing that I absolutely love growing plants. Like you could do so much. Yeah. To answer your question, the Thai constellation, I have a propagation back here, and you have one. It's on. Don't you have one on a pole?
Here she is.
Oh, I'm sorry. The webcam is a bit blurry. I thought it was an elbow. I'm sorry.
I thought I chopped up my elbow, so she's not on display at the moment. But yeah, this one is on a moss pole. It's still baby.
I have a question about that. If do you find that it veers away from the moss pole, the Thai constellation? Because
funny you should say that. Let's see if I can. So this one is growing to one side. So I tried to get her to be straight. She does not want to do that. And so I don't know if that's what you mean.
Yeah. Because I've never done it before, but I get a lot of questions why I don't have my Thai constellation on a moss pole. And so because I knew that you had yours on a moss pole, I just thought I'd ask because I've never experienced it.
I mean, there's also the thing of, the school of thought that, look, I mean, you really don't need to put a Monstera, Deliciosa Thai constellation, blah, blah. Those, they don't really need moss poles because as they mature, the leaves get larger anyway. So, a bit redundant to put it on a moss pole. I mean, I've built the moss pole just to manage the growth. Just, it's okay. I need you to stay here. And not go there and everywhere.
Yeah. Well, like, we like to try new things. And, like, for example, I'm growing my Philodendron McDowell and my Philodendron luxurians on a moss pole. And I know they're terrestrial plants. I know they're crawlers. But you know what? I have seen beautiful large specimens on moss poles, specifically a McDowell. And so I was like, why not? Like, it's another thing that I wanted to try. And I grew my Dean McDowell to obviously like not huge, but like pretty big, like when it was crawling. And so I want to try it climbing. And she's still small. So I think we just recently attached to the moss pole. So
I'm very excited. I've got a Dean McDowell at the moment. The thing is massive, completely grown out of the pot.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with the thing. But I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking, do I add another pot to the pot? Just like have two pots alongside each other that it can grow along. So, maybe putting it up on a moss pole might not be a bad idea. At least it's going up.
Yeah. I'll keep you updated, but I'm still seeing like the petioles are just so long. So
Yeah.
now it's like now I still need enough I guess the diameter. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, I'm letting you still small because I don't know what I'm gonna do with you in like 6 months.
well, that's a problem for future you, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's a problem for future Kevin, so he can deal with it at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take you back to your McDowell that's living on your moss pole at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's still very little, but it's taking up a lot of space. I have seen your videos. How do you live in your house? Do you have a space to live in your house?
Okay, let me paint a picture. I want to paint a picture. Okay, so I live in a 600 square foot condo, high-rise building, and I get this question a lot. They're like, "Oh my God, how do you walk around? What is the environment like?" And the funny thing is, all my plants, well, like I want to say like 95% of my plants, they're up against the window in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
They're hugging the window.
Yeah.
Whether they're on vertical shelving, under grow lights against the window. But it's funny because when people I know, friends, family, come over to my place, they walk in and they're like, "Where are the plants?"
Yeah.
And then I open the door to the bedroom and they're like, "Whoa, it's a totally different environment."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so I live with my boyfriend. He's not a plant person at all.
Yeah.
And so, when you're living with someone and when you've lived for someone long term, you gotta compromise. And so this is kind of the compromise. But saying that if I was allowed to put plants in the living room, I would still probably put 80% in here because the windows are fantastic. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like I would utilize the windows in my living room because they're not.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
They're all in my living room. How do I manage it? You just kind of,
You just gotta do.
you know what? Do you do this too? Because you have a lot of plans. Do you just stand there sometimes and you just look around?
Had to walk away.
Do that.
And go, I am not.
I just look around. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start today.
What, Red John? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? You just kind of have to do it like slowly, day by day.
Yeah.
Don't overwhelm yourself.
Taking care of plants or acquiring plants is a little bit like a dog is not just for Christmas.
Mm-hmm. I never watched that.
Yeah, well,
It's a movie. Sorry.
not a movie, a saying. It's just a saying. Like, how kids say, "Oh, I want a dog. I want a dog for Christmas." Like, no, a dog is not just for Christmas. It's still there on Christmas. Boxing Day. It's still there the day after. It's still there. You still need to take care of it. So plants are like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. It's true.
It's never ending. And plants are not like kids. At least kids grow up and they start to feed themselves eventually. They start to dress themselves. Plants will never do that.
Yeah, exactly. Do you find do you have I don't know like what percentage of your collection is like all Leca? Like are you doing all Leca?
I have 2 plants in soil.
Okay.
The rest of them are in Leca.
I love that. Do you find the care is easier with your plants in Leca?
This is my whole selling point. It's everything I'm trying to tell people. That in as much as you think it's not, it actually is. It's the whole reason I actually started growing my plants in Leca.
Yeah, it's weird because like I guess in the beginning it's a little bit difficult because it's a totally new, different thing.
It's a learning curve. It's just like, what?
But I find that you could really just ignore a plant in Leca, like for a longer period of time. Like than a plant that's in an arid mix, for example.
Yeah.
They'll still be happy.
Yeah.
And that's why, even though you're mixing the solutions, you're, changing the reservoirs from time to time, like that's why I still feel like it's easier, because if something's going on in your life, because we all have busy lives,
Yeah.
and you leave a plant, like for example, this Brantianum, the last time I changed the nutrient solution was probably eight weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been time, but she's okay.
Yeah, of course she's okay. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's you still hear mixed opinions about that. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, I don't have mixed opinions about that at all. That's my whole thing. That's my whole vibe. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. And I tell them, look at me. I've got 3 children. I'm constantly on the go. I have hundreds of plants. I have to make YouTube videos. It takes hours to make videos and all the rest of that stuff. And I still have plants that look like this. The only reason they look like this, I still have my Calathea looking like that. And the only reason it does. Have you seen her?
I don't think I have.
Oh my God, she's world famous.
Oh. Shut the front door.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she is a beauty.
I know. Yeah. Do you see any crispy edges? No. She's living in a 30-centimeter pot. I just repotted her. She's living in Leca.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I thought. Okay, maybe I should do this now.
You should. I challenge you. You should.
Okay, I like a challenge.
Yeah. I'd love to see your obifolia in a year's time.
Oh, okay. Now there's deadlines.
Yeah. I mean, what's a challenge without deadlines?
It's true. Oh God, I suck at deadlines. Okay, maybe I'll try.
I gave you a year because I know winter's gonna come for you guys soon, and yeah, so you've got a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll be fine. But yeah, I find that Leca is just so much easier. But you've actually answered my next question, which is a bit off. Which is when you were saying it, I was like, hang on, pretty sure I've got a question about that. Oh, I'll read you the question, and it says, if you had to pick one plant that represents your gregarious nature, what would it be? Or just your general nature? But you've told me already.
Hi, Constellation. Like, here's the thing. I feel like the philodendron strawberry shake represents me better.
Yeah.
I feel it's just like different, like fruity, colorful.
Yeah.
Out there,
Shake.
Yeah, I don't that. But yeah, I would say strawberry shake, actually. My philodendron strawberry shake.
Strawberry shake looks really interesting. I don't own one.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to at some point in my life. Who knows?
It's polarizing though.
Oh.
Like, a lot of people don't like it because some people say that the variegation looks like vomit. I have 2 followers, Anita and Kyle. They always like, every time I showcase it, they're like, yeah, I'm saying their names.
No, I want harsh. Oh.
No, but I get it. Like, if some people like this, some people like something else. No, I totally understand. But I personally think it's hilarious, because I can see it a little bit in some variations, but not mine. Mine are beautiful.
Yeah, a strawberry shake is way too expensive for me still here. It's just like, that's just not worth the money right now.
And specifically growing and like propagating it nonstop with the prices there in Australia, do not buy one. It's the variegation is so what's the word?
It's not stable.
First of all, it's not stable. But like even propagating and like seeing variegation in a node, and I guess this goes with like Monsteras, variegated Monsteras, like a lot of the time you think you're gonna get a good variegation of the leaves, and it's just
Yeah.
either fully variegated
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
fully green,
Yeah.
and like, and that's just based on my experience, like 2 years constantly propagating my strawberry shake.
Oh,
It's not. I'm so happy. Well, at least in North America, that the price is dropping, because like
yeah.
it's I don't even know. It's a lot.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's
Now,
not.
let's talk. My favorite subject. My favorite subject. We're going to talk about Leca.
Okay. Yay.
What drew you to growing in Leca? Why? Why did you start to grow in Leca?
Okay. So the reason why I switched over a lot of my plants, and do you know what? At the time, I kind of had a situation like you, where I had like 99% of my plants in Leca.
Yeah.
And that was because, I mean, going back to what I was saying about experimenting and just challenging myself, and like seeing how so many different plants, monsteras, philodendrons, snake plants, ZZ plants, how they would like cope in Leca. And
Yeah.
it just that, just not knowing, because there wasn't a lot of information about it at the time, not knowing, that kind of drew me to it. Obviously, like for me and my partner, soil and arid mixes, like we do not like having that around. Just having like dirt on the ground or soil on the ground, like we really don't like that, and specifically my partner doesn't like that a lot. So that was another reason why I switched all my plants into Leca pretty much.
Yeah.
And just knowing, I mean, I guess there is kind of guessing, but if you're putting nutrient solution, like, they're getting the macronutrients, so nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Depending on the nutrient solution, with calcium, magnesium, and the micronutrients as well. But and then just observing the growth, foliage growth, flowering, like I don't know. And people still ask me, they're like, "How come like you have like all your plants in pond now? Like, what happened to Leca?" And if I had the choice, I would still have probably like all my plants in Leca, but it's the whole like learning and just like seeing how things grow in different mediums. It's but I do prefer Leca, and like I don't know if that's how you felt. I don't know if that's
Oh, no, I certainly feel the same way. I started with Leca because I needed to. When I started with Leca, I didn't even know about pond or any of the other stuff. I started with Leca. I loved it. And that's what I started doing. I do have plants in pond. I do. I'm actually using a substance called tetrabase. Have you heard of tetrabase?
What's that?
I'll teach you about tetrabase. It's recycled plastic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in theory, it's supposed to be even better than Leca in terms of the fact, you know how you've always got that clay residue at the bottom of your reservoir? You always have that. There's nothing you can do about that. So because this is recycled plastic, your reservoir is pristine.
Oh my gosh. Huge selling point there.
I know. I mean, it's it's primarily used for growers, like proper full hydro, growing in deep water culture and that kind of thing. So I'm playing around with it in semi-hydro and seeing how I go. So yeah, watch this space. But yeah, like you, I love to experiment and just see what is possible. So yes, the majority of my plants are in Leca. I've only got the ones in soil because they're so big, I can't move them. They're like huge moss poles. I physically can't lift them and edge them over. But otherwise, I love to try.
Yeah. Were you like a fan like of arid mixes or soil like at all in the past?
Well, I think it's an evolution, right? I mean, I started with plants, and of course, no one starts growing plants in Leca. It's like no one knows what it is.
Yeah.
We've been growing plants for a while, and then you're like, what is this? I had breakfast with someone I met on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and she was the lady I texted. I DM'd her, and I'm like, excuse me. What are these things you're growing your plants?
Right, yeah.
She's like, yeah, you kind of took that and ran with it, didn't you? I know.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started off with soil, and of course I was just buying the usual potting mix from, the big stores, and, evolved to, right, I'm gonna make my own aeroid mix. I was making my own mixes, and then dumped the soil altogether. Yeah, I do not do soil. No.
I don't. I love that. Mm-hmm.
When I buy a new plant, I'll go off and buy a plant, and most of the plants I buy are in soil. Obviously, they live in my garage. They just take them out of the car. I leave them in the garage until I'm ready to transition them to Leca. They do not come into the house until it's time to make that video where I'm taking them out of the soil and putting them in Leca. Or if no videos, they'll just like straight out.
No, it's true. Because, like, first of all, it's a process doing that.
Yeah.
Second of all, we need the content, and then third of all,
yeah, and play.
It's hard to, like. Well, I mean, I've watched your videos about, because you do it. You don't put them directly in Leca. You do them.
I do. Oh.
I do
I've got lots of different ways. I do directly into Leca. And then I also do what I call my long method, where I put it into the nutrient first, and then it just depends on the plant and what I'm trying to do. And I do also I like to experiment. I do all sorts of things,
and I love that. That's great. Because I haven't, like, I've never done the long method, and I was like, oh, like, this makes sense. Like,
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, I do a lot of. Hang on, I should have someone hanging. I'll show you something. Sneak peek. So this is a video in production.
Oh my God, the Birkin.
Yes. Yeah, so I bought this plant. I don't have a Birkin. I had like a crappy little Birkin that was just not growing. And I was like, bugger this, I'm getting rid of that. And I'm going to get myself a new one. So I got this. And I decided I wanted a big one, because I wanted to do a video showing people how to move a big plant from soil to Leca. I've done that before, but I'm evolving and I'm adding different aspects to it. So this one is living in that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been in that solution. I know, right? And this one here, that's a new leaf, that pure white one. That's new since I got this plant. And I'll tell you, I have not lost a single leaf.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's a video in the making. So yeah, I love to use that method, because I like sometimes to get just a big plant and just see how I go.
Oh yeah, no, I've been there. Like, the juvenile Philodendron melanochrysum. I'm not growing that. The juvenile. The leaf.
You want a big one? Yeah.
Oh, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And it's just, sometimes you just have to, like, go out and buy a bigger, and exactly.
This is what I tell people all the time. Don't be stuck with a crappy small one. I mean, you see all these plants sometimes on us influencers, whatever pages and whatever.
I know.
Like, I just want a big one that grew in the nursery, and
exactly. Yeah. So, I know, and I say that too. Like, get a big one. Like, there's some plants that you just need to get a big one.
Yeah, because you'll be waiting for 6 years and the thing's not growing, especially in the conditions in our home. Our homes are just not optimized enough for the plants to grow as big as it should. Nurseries are like blasting with heat, humidity, light. The thing will grow in no time. Yeah. Cool. All right. That is good. So I guess you've answered my other question. Why you haven't gone all out with the Leca?
Yeah. You know what? So, okay. I want to say like 2-3 years ago, when at this point, all my plants pretty much are in Leca.
Yeah.
That's when Lechuza Pond started creeping into the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, hang on a minute. This looks interesting.
Yeah, and
Positions are said to be a bit easier.
yeah, so I just want to learn about that. And I mean, I saw a lot of people, trying it and saying a lot of things about it. And I mean, that's why I don't have, and I mean, I did answer that. Like I was very curious. I want to experiment. Um, I love having my Hoyas specifically in pawn, and my Anthuriums. But
the difference that you've seen between Hoyas in Leca and Hoyas in pawn?
So it's not necessarily how fast or how big the leaves or how healthy the foliage looks or the blooming. It's not like anything specific to that. It's more maintenance on my part. When it comes to pawn, I feel like the theme of what I like is like, if I could ignore it,
the better. The better.
Yeah, exactly. Because, okay, in my experience, in my environment, because everyone's environments are different, I find that pawn, it does hold on to water and moisture longer than Leca. And I mean, it's the, oh gosh, I'm going to forget the names. It's the zeolite. It's the Pothos. They have like a water holding capacity, as well as having the air pockets inside it and also around.
They're loud.
So, like in my experience, again, like I get to ignore those plants a little bit more, because even though superficially the pond might look dry, when you get your finger in the pond, you can really feel that it's still moist, at least.
Yeah.
And I do have to say this though, every time I'm growing the same Hoya in Leca, for example, I do think the leaves are a bit more shinier and a bit more bigger. I do. The same plant might be healthy in pond too, but I've just, since there's only been a few plants, like my Hoya Mathilde, I've grown so full in both mediums, and when it was living in Leca, it was, the foliage was just
insane,
so healthy. Like, oh, so I mean, I guess that's why not all my plants are in Leca. I mean, I do love growing in Leca. But yeah, I don't know. It's just curiosity about growing in different mediums, I guess.
I'm dying to ask you this question. What is your pot setup? How do you set up your pots in Leca and your pots in pond? What are you doing?
So I'm just going to bring this is my, oh God, it looks really bad. So a lot of my plants in Leca that are small enough to fit into these, I don't know, they're like 5.5-inch pots. They're from Amazon. I generally prefer them having a couple of wicks, the net pot, the cash pot, and just having like a little bit of a nutrient solution at the bottom. And so obviously you can't use this pot for everything, but it's the one that I use the most just because it's the most affordable. I actually like when the roots have a little bit of space between the
nutrient solution and so you've got that air pocket between the
exactly and I prefer that. It's the same thing with my bigger plants. So I have 3-gallon buckets, 5-gallon buckets with like I guess an 8 to 10-inch net pot, and it's the same thing. Like there's that space for the roots to kind of grow. Obviously we know that aeration is one of the most important things when it comes to root health and growing plants, healthy plants. And so I mean that's when the bucket and the net pot. But I mean there's some that are in different configurations. Like, oh gosh, what is it called? I know you do this. It's when it's sitting.
The submerged method. It's sitting in the
method. Yeah. I have some that are in that configuration, but not too many. And specifically for pawn, I have maybe 2 like Lechuza brand like self-watering pots for those. Yeah, for those plants. But there are so many with like an indicator, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, like here's my Wendlandii.
Mm, I hate that plant.
You hate that? Don't.
Yeah, no, ground for me.
Oh my god. Okay, it's one of my favorite Syngoniums.
I love Syngoniums, okay? I love them.
I know you do, right?
One.
Okay, well, don't look at her then. But so these ones have an indicator.
Yeah.
That show how full the space at the bottom is, and so like kind of similar to those self-watering pots, except for the net pot has legs, so it's sitting.
It's sitting, yeah. And is that what you use for pond?
Pond specifically, yes.
Really?
Legs and pond, yeah.
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 Okay. Because it's really important with what you were saying, how pond holds onto the moisture a lot longer. So it's really important to know how the pond is actually receiving that nutrient from the reservoir. Right. So do you have wicks? Do you have wicks on in your pots with pond or not?
No. So it's just the legs.
Just the legs. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I always like, and this is again a preference of mine, I like to water over instead of, because a lot of these pots, oh gosh, this is messy. A lot of these pots have like a space where you can pour the water.
Very, very scary.
You're right. It's so small. And I'm just like, and then like half of it's gone.
Exactly. You pour it straight onto the thing and you're done.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that action also, like, because they're against each other, you're pouring water on top of them, they will hold onto a little bit of the water.
Yeah.
When you do that, as opposed to it like wicking it from the bottom, which like obviously is done as well with these self-watering pots, but that's what I prefer, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've used, well, obviously since I use a lot more Leca, I use Leca in the Lechuza pots.
Do you? Oh.
Yes, I do. I love me a Lechuza pot. It's like my favorite.
They're good.
They're expensive, but they're my favorite.
I know. Oh my gosh, that's why I only have 4. I'm like, huh?
You only have 4?
4? No, how many do you have? Like 80?
No, I think I've probably got like 8 or something. I'm even bought like a really big one. It's like really big. I haven't even used it yet, but I bought that. It was on sale, obviously. I only buy them when they're on sale. But I bought that for the day I will be moving my Monstera. My giant Monstera is going to need a home, a forever home.
Yeah.
In Leca. And it's going to be in that.
Yeah, you need a big pot for the big Monsteras.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be big. And I like to actually, because I'm using Leca in them, I do put a wick. I like to put a wick because I'm like, depending on how big or how small the Leca is, it might not get into those little legs to access the nutrient solution. So I'm just like, I just put some holes in the pot and put my wick through.
Yeah, because that's the reason why I don't use Lechuza pots for Leca plants, because that's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
I should just like poke holes, get a wick.
Yeah, I like poking holes. I even poke holes on the sides of the
side.
Yeah, to give that aeration. I poke holes in my Lechuza pot all the time, and I always say I would not be taking them back for warranty purposes. They would not.
They're like, I didn't do this. It came to me like this.
Be like, nah, we've seen your videos.
Exactly. You're like, oh gosh. This is so loud.
I'm going to go bring Tom to a dream, bring Tom to a dream, or Tom.